My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today we're going to be creating some background paper, or at least that's my plan, with the Hello Beautiful stamp set. And this set of green inks. My thought process is to make something with a St. Patrick's Day theme. So one of the things that I like to do, this is Designer Series paper. This is the Abstract Beauty Suite Designer Series paper. So the Hello Beautiful stamp set is also part of that suite. And I thought that this paper was gorgeous. This was a card that I had made in my Abstract Beauty class. But if you just look at the Designer Series paper here, I was really intrigued by these patterns because the Hello Beautiful stamp set has all of these patterns that you can create something similar or mimic or create your own. So if you run out of the Designer Series paper, or if the Designer Series paper retires, what do, right? You want to create your own backgrounds. Now, I've just kind of been in a create a background mode, and I wanted to keep that going. I am going to get out my foam pad. This is from my Stamparatus, but whatever foam mat or foam pad you like to work with whenever you're stamping with photopolymer stamps, we're going to be using that. And we're going to be using these greens. So this is the color combo that I wanted to work with tonight. And that is Soft Sea Foam, Granny Apple Green, Garden Green, and Shaded Spruce. I actually like to make St. Patrick's Day cards. I know they're not as popular as some other cards, but like I said, you could always turn it into a good luck theme, or you could change out these colors for any holiday that you like, Christmas, 4th of July, Easter. Think about the color theme that you would like. I personally think that the Abstract Beauty paper is really gorgeous for spring and for Easter. And of course parties, but you can let me know what you think about that. But what I want to look at here are the different patterns. So we have some different size patterns to work with from our stamp set. I put some on blocks in advance, but we have some that are longer, some that look like paint. Okay, this looks almost like a swatch, like a swoop. And then we have this one. Okay, and then we have these smaller backgrounds too. We also have the dots and this scribble pattern right here. So what I want to do is kind of follow their lead. I always like to look and see what the paper looks like. And you can see it's coming in from the edges. So it's kind of coming in all around, almost comes all the way across, but there is some like white space right in here. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And I am going to slightly overlap my colors just in the way that they did. So doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be, exactly like the paper. It's just the concept of playing with all of these images that you can create patterns with. So that's the goal. Okay. So let me put this here. We'll put our greens here. And I'm going to start with the rounded piece. And you can always stamp it on your scrap paper first. And I'm going to, if I can get this open, this is my Soft Sea Foam. Okay. You can choose how you want to come in here. Okay, but I am going to just set that down. Okay, and I'm just going to start bringing in some green. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, opposite corner. Okay, now we can come back in with this again, but what I'm going to do is just start bringing in some different greens, some different patterns. and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to get my garden green now. Okay. Going to slightly overlap. I am going to let there be some parts where there is basic white shining through. Looks like I might have something on my stamp. Yeah, hang on one second. Let's clean that off. And we'll try that one more time. It's looking better. Okay. That will be an ideal place for overlap, right? Okay. So we're going to bring in another pattern here. And I'm going to do from a different angle in the top corner and the bottom corner. Okay, and then we're going to bring in our Granny Apple Green. I'm going to go for this longer piece now. Taking a look at the patterns here, you can see the longer strips kind of come in at different points. So I'm just going to bring in those colors, different places. Okay. I'm going to bring some in right over here. Okay, now my next color is, it's hiding right around here somewhere, Shaded Spruce. So we can do Shaded Spruce in a larger pattern piece, or we can choose one of these smaller swatches. And I was thinking about using a smaller one. This is what it looks like here. Okay, and that's pretty dark, but that's okay. So just going to kind of bring this in at certain places. And just building out that pattern. Now I'm going to go back in again, and what I would like to do is add a little bit more of that lighter color. So we're going to go back to soft seafoam. We're going to go back to this more rounded background pattern piece. Oh, I got some green on my fingers. That's okay. Okay. So I'm going to go sideways this time. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to go back to the Granny Apple Green. Just adding a little bit more color right around here. Okay, and then for our other patterns here, so on this pattern, for example, we have these kind of squiggles and dots. So I don't know if I would do both. I would probably just do one or the other. And I would either do it in gold heat emboss or a darker color. So because I'm trying to stick within these 4 greens, I'm going to do shaded spruce again, but I'm going to do the squiggle line. And let me just show you what that looks like. So that's what that looks like right there. And we're just going to kind of add this in at a few spots. Okay. Now with my little boo-boo right here, I'm just going to kind of go right over that, just with that edge. Let's see if I can do that again, so it's not as noticeable. All right, and then let me close this up for a minute. All right, and let's see if we can make a card out of this, if you guys have the time. So I'm going to work with this a little bit more off camera, but I do want to turn this into a card. I'm going to go and get my punch here. We're going to punch out, I think it's either 3 or 4 of these. One's a shamrock, and one is a clover. Every year I confuse myself with this. So one is 3 leaves and one is 4 leaves. I'm going to do 4. So I'm going to go to my standard card size that I like to use, which is 8.5 by 5.5. And then we're going to score it at 4.25. And then we're going to score in the center of each of these hearts. Okay, so let me put this, we're going to put it so that the our little notch in our heart here is lined up with this line here so that we can score right down the center. And if you want to do this all at the same time, you can just line up your hearts right down the line. If you'd rather do this one at a time, you could do that too. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that our tip is also on that center line there. If it's not going to, be exactly down the middle. Okay. So once you have all these lined up and where you want them, be sure to hold down your clear, your piece here. You want to hold it where those hearts are so that as you're scoring this, you're kind of holding these in place and you're not moving them. Okay, and we're just going to go right down the line. It's okay for it to have a deep groove in it. And that is just to give it the appearance of leaves. Okay, so let me see if I like the 3 or the 4 better. And you just match up the edges of those hearts. So I like the 3, and then you could have like just a little piece coming out as a stem. If you want to do 4, this is what the 4 looks like. I personally like the 3. I do this every year with the hearts, and then I always forget what I do, but I think that this is really cute. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention for anybody who does specifically want to do St. Patrick's Day, There's another stamp set that I think that you guys, oops, excuse me. There's another stamp set I think that you guys would really like. So this is called A Wish for Everything. And then it also has a set of dies that coordinate with it. It's a separate purchase at this point, but they're called the Word Wishes dies. And they coordinate very beautifully with this stamp set. So it's a two set stamp set. So on the one, it's all of the actual like greetings or the sentiments for the holidays. And we have St. Patrick's Day here. So we have Lucky You here. So St. Patrick's Day, wishing you and you can say Happy St. Patrick's Day. So you have options there. May the luck of the Irish go double for you. And then we also have this one here where you could just say St. Patrick's wishes, or you can, you know, say whatever you would want the coordinating inside sentiment to be if you would want. So for me, last year I did St. Patrick's Day with the May the luck of the Irish go double for you. I thought that was really cute. But you could do whichever, you know, whichever works for you. And then I think I did score this down, but let me just check one more time. All right. And in terms of having like a little extra piece, I'm just going to trim off a piece of this. So we'll do our garden green here. And let's go to 1/4 inch maybe. We'll see if that's too thin. But we'll try the 1/4 inch first. And then the length of that paper was 3 inches. So this is 1/4 inch by 3, but we might trim that down. Let's take a look and see. Okay. So I do think I want to add more layers to this. And I'm just trying to think if I should have this be here, like right in the center. I'm going to do this one over the top, and then those two can intersect on the bottom there, and then slide in our stem. Let me just take a look at that, see how that looks. It's pretty cute. I don't think I'm going to have to trim that because we can hide part of it right here. Okay, but what I do think I need to do is add just a few more pops of color. So what I'm thinking about doing is bringing in maybe like a square of the Granny Apple Green, just so that our shamrock can kind of stand out against it, unless we would want to do a really dark color. But shamrocks aren't that dark. So let me see. All right, so I have Evening Evergreen here. Let's just try a layer of this and see what this looks like. We're going to do a really thin layer around the border. So the last one was cut at 4. So let's do 4 1/8. Four and 1/8, and then we were at 5 1/4 for the last layer. So let's go up to 5 3/8. Okay, so let's try this first. Let's see what this looks like. We could do smaller hearts against the white. I really like that. Okay, so I really like that frame in with this darker green. And then let me just take a look really quick at the Granny Apple Green. I have a piece right here. let's just see how this looks. So just slightly set behind. So I'm going to try to cut this down into a square. So let's do 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Let's see if this is big enough. Sometimes this is just kind of how I figure out my card layouts. I know it can feel kind of random sometimes, but we just got to find that happy place for our cards, right? So if you wanted to do something really simple, like let's just say you want to focus on your background paper and you just want to have a banner or something in here where you're focusing on the sentiment, you could absolutely do that. And then with this, I almost feel like I'm covering up almost everything that I did, but let me just see. I mean, we still have the essence here. If we can make this any smaller, I think we can. I think I can bring it in a little bit more. So let's just see. Like, I think that we could bring that in a little bit more. So I'm going to trim this down. Let's go to 3. Where was I at? 3 3/4. Let's do 3 1/2. See if this looks any better to us. Okay. For anybody who's tuning in live or even in the replay, let me know what you guys are up to tonight. All right, so I like this. I like this size better. I can still see that pattern that I stamped. Let's do the 2 sides first, and then we'll put our other over top. Okay, so we're going to go tip to tip. I am going to keep it within the square. And then we can even angle these a little bit. I think that looks a little bit more shamrocky. What do you guys think? Or clover, just depending on which one is right. I'm going to have to look it up. And let me put that here. That's cute. Okay, so I'm definitely getting happier with this. I do want to put the stem behind the hearts though, because I don't want it to kind of mess with that little look there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this just a little bit. It's a little too long. And let's try again. Just trying to get my layout to a place where I'm happy with it. Okay. Okay, and then we would do our sentiment. So let's pick which one we want. Now, kind of what I want to do is may the luck of the Irish go double for you, and then do Happy St. Patrick's Day maybe on the inside of the card. And it's going to be our longest stamp. And let's see what this looks like. I'm going to pick this up. The longer stamps, I always like to kind of put them down and pick them up because I can bend them sometimes if I don't do that. All right, and then we're going to focus on a darker green for this. So I'm going to do the shaded spruce. All right, and then what I'm going to do is, I was going to stamp that on the green, but I think I'm going to just make it into a layer here. So let's see. So this is already at a 1/2 inch. Yeah, 1/2 inch. I think I said a 1/4 inch for the last piece, and that was not, was that right? Yes, that was right. Okay. So let me try this size. and see how this looks. All right. Perfect. All right, so I'm just going to trim this off. And this piece ended up being 3.5. And let me take a look at my card here one more time. I'm actually going to start gluing this down. And we'll do a little card project on the live, and then I'll finish with a few gems or rhinestones. So we're going to put down our evening evergreen layer first. I would have grabbed shaded spruce, but it wasn't readily available. Okay, and that's okay. All of our greens go really well together, I think. Well, I should say most of our greens. Okay, and then let's put down our stamped background layer. Okay, there we go. Now, if you would just want to do your sentiment, you could do that here, and you could even do that with, let me just cut another layer just so that you guys can see. Let me do it at 1 inch. That might even be too big, but let's just take a look at it. And we'll do 3 3/4. Okay, so if you just want to do the sentiment with a little layer here, you could put it right in the center without the shamrock, or if you want to use a different sentiment and not make this about St. Patrick's Day, make this about something else. Excuse me, I was trying so hard not to cough. You could do that too. I'm going to put this down next. So this is our Granny Apple Green square. 3.5 by 3.5 is what we ended up going with there. I like that we can still see our border. Okay, so I'm going to do the stem first. Right in the center. Thank you for bearing with me with this. I just kind of got to get my placement right with my hearts. Just want to make sure they're still on the inside of the square. I'm going to do these at a slight angle. And we'll bring this one in over the top. You can even pop these up on dimensionals if you would want to. And the one thing that I will pop up on dimensionals, we could do it right across the center there, or we could do it just underneath. And I think I'm going to do it underneath, but I will pop this piece up on dimensionals. I'm looking for my smaller dimensionals. Here we go. Okay, so let me bring this in. I'll do 3 of the smaller pieces. Okay, so these are our minis, mini dimensionals. I'm going to bring this in right sort of at the bottom there. And I want to try to line that up as evenly as I can with the square, because they're just about the same size. 3.5. Okay, and then let me just grab some rhinestones that we can use with this. Here I have the Genial Gems. And the reason why I like these is because they have a little bit of gold in them. Okay, so really, really pretty. So let me just grab a couple of these. We'll just kind of pop these on the card. Let's do 4. Okay, I think that looks really cute. All right, and so there is just one St. Patrick idea for you, or you could do good luck, or you could do a different holiday, or if you want to do like a whole series or theme in similar colors where it's all greens, all blues, all reds, all pinks, you could do that. I am going to do a few more samples. Okay, so we are going to make a second St. Patrick's Day card. We're going to play around with the layout, and we're going to play around with the greens. So in our first card, we had used soft seafoam, granny apple green, garden green, and shaded spruce. That is this card here. Now we're going to bring in some of our other greens. So I'm just going to combine these, and we're going to see how it turns out. And just for reference, one more time, I'm going to bring out these pieces that I really liked. And again, we're just going to alternate and overlap, just very similar to the way that they did. And in this card, we are going to add pops of gold, but it's not going to be foil. We're going to do heat emboss. Okay, so just different pattern ideas, but we're going to do the dots in the heat emboss. All right, so we're going to start with just jade. I just heat embossed some gold onto this layer, and I didn't realize that my camera wasn't on, but I actually messed this up. Now, this is a happy accident because I love the way that this turned out, but what I did wrong was whenever you're stamping ink down, any kind of colored ink, you want to heat set it before you put your anti-static powder down, and then stamp with your Versamark so that the powder, the gold powder, won't stick to the ink, right? You don't want the ink sticking anywhere but to the Versamark ink. Now, when I had dusted off my powder, I did not realize that I still had powder stuck to the ink, but I had forgotten to heat set the greens first. So this is the result if you don't heat set the ink first. But oh my gosh, does it look absolutely perfect with this? So kind of in that same way that you have that technique. And, you know, I would tell you guys if I did that on purpose, but that was actually a mistake. But I think it looks beautiful. So I'm actually going to keep it. It's just a different look, but it still has like those pops of gold there, right? You know, so I just think that that's really cool. But I will do the gold again when I do the red, white, and blue card so that you guys can see the heat embossing on that. I'm so sorry that I didn't record it. Okay, so now what I have here, and it's kind of hard to read them this way, but these are dies that actually say Happy St. Patrick's Day, okay? These are from the Word Wishes dies. We are going to cut these in a darker green. You can choose, you know, whatever your preferred green is. I'm going to be cutting them in Evening Evergreen. Okay, now I also have these two dies from the Love and Happiness dies. So it's entirely up to you. I did use the punch, the Hart punch, this one, for the first shamrock. And I love the look of it, but it's a little bit big. So I decided to downsize my Hart a little bit so that we can do a smaller 4-leaf clover. We have these pieces of the adhesive sheets. And what we're going to do is put this down on the cardstock. I have scrap pieces of this in different sizes, so I'm just going to start and do it this way. Let me move these out of the way. I'm going to bring in my die cutting machine. Okay, so we want this to be face down. So we're just going to set our dies over the area that has the adhesive. Okay, so just here, here, here. Okay, we're gonna pull these pieces out. We'll save these to use in a minute. Okay, now for St. Patrick's, you'll notice that we still have the dot for this eye in the die, and I'm going to leave it there for a minute because we're going to use it. But we're going to pull this out carefully. And then we have the apostrophe up here. So we're going to hold on to that too. We're just going to leave that there for a minute. So we'll come back to these. We're going to cut a few more pieces. Now I'm going to cut my Clover in garden green. Okay, so here I'm just die cutting my hearts. I also die cut the Happy St. Patrick's Day dies, and I turn them into stickers with the adhesive sheets Right here, I'm just trying to figure out my layout, and what I decided to do was split them up. So it's a combination of the stamps from A Wish for Everything, and then also the Word Wishes dies, which at one time were a bundle but can now be purchased separately. I definitely recommend using those together, and I absolutely love the way that the layout turned out. Here I am using a basic white card base as well on this card. All right, there we go. Isn't that cute? All right, so let's go ahead and do another version of this. Okay, so I ultimately ended up doing 3 St. Patrick's Day cards. I was interested in doing a layout with the smaller clover, the 4-leaf clover with the smaller heart die, but I just could not find my happy place with that. I really loved the way that the background paper looked, and I didn't want to take away from that. So I ended up just doing a combination of the sentiments of Happy St. Patrick's Day, and I just alternated the stamps and the die cuts with both of these card layouts. And you can choose to do this however you like. I think if I would do a 4-leaf clover card, I would actually do a less busy background so that my 4-leaf clover with the die cuts could be the feature on the card. So here I heat set the ink before I laid down my anti-static powder and before I put down my my gold heat embossed powder. But I will say that when I am recording these videos, I do get a little impatient and may not clean it off as much as I should. So I did still get a little bit of the gold powder residue on the card, but again, it was a happy accident for me and I love the layout. Now here is where I'm trying to test out my 4-leaf clover. I was thinking about doing it in the center of the card and letting it sort of be, you know, that main feature on the card front, and I just did not like the way that it looked. So I decided to do the word, this is the Word Wishes dies, and then I'm grabbing the dot for that eye out of the die and peeling off that adhesive backing. So those are the adhesive sheets, by the way, that make these so much easier to use. Now I'm practicing with Happy and Day. I tend to struggle with smaller stamps, and I did get Happy Crooked, so I grabbed a banner from the Tasteful Label dies and I redid it and put it on. So that was just a mistake that I was covering. You could do this however you like. I ended up using the gold genial gems as an embellishment on this card. I love the way the gold heat emboss turned out with this. I'm still trying to kind of fit in that 4-leaf clover, and I just did not like it. So I decided to scrap it. And I think that happens sometimes with card makers. But you could certainly use a 4-leaf clover or a shamrock in any of yours. This is a soft seafoam card base, same size as the other card bases. And I really hope that you enjoyed these St. Patrick's Day projects. I love the way that they turned out. I think that the Hello Beautiful stamp set is so much fun to work with in terms of creating backgrounds, and I hope that you try it. Okay, so here we go. We have our St. Patrick's Day card projects. This, of course, could be in any theme, any color, any holiday, just depending on what you are making cards for. I know that St. Patrick's Day isn't necessarily the most popular holiday for card making, but I did hear from some of you who said that you do make cards and that you do look for that. Now here is an alternate card idea, different colors if you want to do red, white, and blue, Memorial Day, 4th of July, thank you, Father's Day, summer theme, you know, Labor Day, any of those. We have Poppy Parade with Misty Moonlight, and then a Night of Navy card base with some white heat emboss, and then these adorable resin stars that are part of that baseball suite in the mini catalog. I'll put the name of them up on the screen. But yeah, so cute. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. If you like crafting or card making tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Be sure to stay tuned for the next video.